Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Sal Licata Show podcast. As we're on YouTube, download, rate, subscribe, like, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all that different stuff. Okay, special episode for you. We have an interview that we did with Frank Isola, so we'll play that for you coming up in a little bit. And of course, every Thursday, starting with last week, so this is our second edition, 6 with Sal. Bada Booms and I will have some fun picking our favorite Super Bowl foods. Which party would you rather be at, mine or Bada Boom's? We'll do that draft style coming up after Frank Isola, and I'll also give you my thoughts on our Temi Panarin and the trade from the Rangers to the Kings. But we begin with Framber Valdez, who signed with the Tigers, or they're reportedly in an agreement. I shouldn't say they signed yet. The deal is pending a physical, but according to Passan and everybody else who's reporting on this, Framber Valdez has agreed to a 3-year contract with the Detroit Tigers. Interesting. There were some late rumors about the Pirates maybe getting involved. People had speculated the Orioles. I mean, some people even threw the Mets in there. I don't think that was realistic. Valdez agrees with the Tigers, 3 years, $115 million. He gets the highest AAV ever for a left-handed pitcher. And there's only one thing that's on my mind after reading that. Tarik Skubal. So the Tigers don't want to pay Skubal the $400 million that he's going to command, or anywhere close. They're fighting with him in arbitration to a point where it's gotten ugly here. And now they pay Framber Valdez. I don't know, and maybe more stuff is going to come out about this even after we record this. I have no idea, but the initial thought has to be the Tigers know they got to move on from Skubal. They're not going to be able, they wouldn't pay Valdez the highest AAV, and Valdez could opt out after 2 years. But they wouldn't sign him to a 3-year, $115 million contract, and then, in addition to that, extend Tarik Skubal. Now, I never thought Skubal was going to stay with Detroit, but there was a thought that maybe they just go after the championship this year with him and then lose him for nothing in the offseason. And maybe that's still the case here. But I have a hard time thinking that's the case now after they agree to a 3-year, $150 million deal with Valdez. I have to think that Skubal's days are numbered sooner than later with Detroit. Does that mean that the Mets can be in play? Does it mean the Yankees could be in play? Does it even mean that he's getting traded? I don't know, but, and by the way, like the latest reports on that stuff, which is dating back, if not weeks, it's months ago now, was that the Tigers were asking basically for the entire team. Whether it was the Yankees who inquired or the Mets who inquired, the Tigers wanted a boatload for Skubal, which you understand, but you also got to be realistic. The market's going to be, hot for Skubal, but teams are going to be realistic and be like, yeah, we want the player, but we also know you got to give him up, and we could play this game of chicken all day long. Ultimately, Skubal's going to test free agency, and when he does, the Mets could go get him for money and not have to give up prospects. It's just a matter of how soon they're going to get him because of how soon maybe the Tigers want to move on from him. But if the Tigers did make him available sooner than later, you better be sure if you're the Mets or Yankees. And again, I'm not so sure where the Yankees stand on this. There was some reports that they would be. And I don't think it's as much of a need. That's why I always talk Mets and Skubal. The Mets clearly needed to upgrade their rotation. Even after getting Freddie Peralta, they still could use, I think Peralta's an ace, but Skubal is an ace's ace. I mean, you could debate, Peralta an ace, maybe not. There's no debating Tarik Skubal is a legitimate ace. So if he's available, and I always thought he was going to be, and the Tigers agreeing to a deal with Valdez would make me think that he would be more available, then the Mets got to pounce. Now, what's going to be the price for that? You're not giving up Benj. You're not giving up McLean. Anybody outside of that? Tong, whoever else you want to obviously, there's going to be a bunch of other guys. Now, I don't know if you could get it done. If you can't get it done without Benj or without Noah McLean, you're not doing it. That you got to draw the line somewhere. As badly as I want Tarik Skubal on the Mets right now, you have to draw the line somewhere. That's where I would draw the line. Benj, McLean, can't have. Anybody else you can have. Do the Mets have enough? I know they have a terrific farm system. According to the people who rank these farm systems, you would think that they would have enough. If the Tigers come down to realistic package, maybe the Dodgers go get him. I don't know. But what I do know is my gut tells me, without knowing where this is going, my gut tells me that this is more likely now that Skubal gets moved after the Tigers reportedly agreed to a 3-year, $115 million contract with Framber Valdez, because it just wouldn't make sense they're not paying both those guys. They're not doing it. The idea would be, okay, well, we want Skubal, we want a true ace. We'll give him all the money, not go sign Framber Valdez, and then figure out a way to bring Skubal back, even if it is just for this year. Still, Skubal's going to, with the arbitration stuff, he's got to get more than the Tigers are willing to pay him. They were offering him, what, $19 million, and he wanted $30 million. It was a big disparity, the largest disparity in arbitration history. So I would think, reading the tea leaves from afar, that means Skubal more likely on the move sooner than later. All right, we talked to Frank Isola last night as I'm recording this episode about the Knicks, the possibility of Giannis getting moved, some of the other trades that went down ahead of the NBA trade deadline, relive some of the 90s stuff. He was great. I love him. Good friend of mine. Check out Frank Isola right now. My good friend. I miss him dearly. Ahead of the NBA deadline tomorrow, Frank Isola. Frank, how are you?
Sally boy, what's up? How are you, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to have you on. I appreciate you taking the time. Sirius XM, ESPN, Yes Network. I'm glad to catch you on an off night here. I mean, you're as busy as there is in the media business.
Well, the radio show's 5 days a week, so that's in the morning, so that keeps me going. The Nets, that's about 60 games. I think I'm already at game. It might be like 35 already, so I'm almost through that. And then, of course, with ESPN, it's when Tony Kornheiser wants to go play golf in Florida, they call me up, and I go down to DC, and I'm on that show, which is a lot of fun.
Of all those things, and obviously you and I used to work together for years at SNY. I always was a fan of yours before that because I loved your coverage of the Knicks growing up, reading in the Daily News, wherever else. You were at the Post before the Daily News, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah. I just remember you, but really in the heyday in the 90s with Riley, with Van Gundy, you were the face of the beat writers around the Knicks. So I grew up loving you, and then getting to work with you at SNY and becoming friends with you was great. But I know you more for this right here, Just Ballin', the book that you wrote with. You remember this? I mean, come on, this is one of the first books I ever read.
I love how you said my heyday in the 90s. I think that's probably pretty accurate. That was my heyday. I actually have the poster. Hang on. I got the.
I meant heyday. Look, as a Knicks beat writer, or for the Knicks. I mean, there you go. Look at that, Just Ballin'. It was a tremendous book with you and Mike Wise. I loved it. Literally one of the first 2 books I've ever read in my life, and I couldn't put it down. So yeah. I think you signed this for me maybe at one point. Did you sign this for me? I think. Yeah, look at that. Look.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So busy day around the NBA. Before we get into the Knicks and Giannis with nothing happening there, I have a question about the Cleveland trade. That doesn't make sense to me. Why would they trade a young stud in Garland for Harden, who seems to be over the hill? Do you make sense? Help me make sense of that Cleveland trade and how it impacts the East.
Well, I think right now Harden is better than Darius Garland, and I think a lot of these teams, Coach told me recently, like windows open and close pretty quickly, and I think Cleveland window is open right now. And then you look at the way they played in the playoffs last year. They lose that game 1 in the second round at home to Indiana. Then the second game, Garland has that toe injury, he's not playing. Evan Mobley didn't play. DeAndre Hunter didn't play. And I always say, I hate calling teams soft, but the Cleveland team was soft, and that was a big issue with them. And Garland is hurt again. He's undersized. It's hard to win a championship with 2 smaller guards. So Harden, I got a chance to see him 3 weeks ago in Brooklyn. I thought he was outstanding. I mean, he's such a unique offensive player, and believe it or not, and he formed a pretty good relationship with Jeff Van Gundy, who's essentially in charge of the defense with the Clippers, and he was defending. And when you see Harden in person, he's a lot bigger than you think. He's got long arms, he's strong, and what I like about him, and I always admire guys like this in the NBA. He's got a ton of money. He loves playing basketball. So yeah, is he a party guy? Does he like hanging out? Yeah, sure, but he works at his craft and he loves to play. He's always available. Meanwhile, this season, Darius Garland's played 26 games, and this toe injury that he had last year that impacted him in the playoffs is still impacting him now. And I think Cleveland looks at it as, Detroit's, this team's never won a playoff series. The Knicks are obviously going to be tough. Boston could get Jason Tatum back, but, we won 64 games last year. We've fallen off. Let's go out and try to do something to give ourselves a chance. So right now with Harden and Donovan Mitchell, it's a pretty dynamic backcourt. I get it. It may only be for 2 years, maybe 3 years maximum, but I think Cleveland is going for it. And I like Darius Garland. but he's got
Yeah.
two big knocks against him. One, undersized. The other one, always injured.
All right. So do you think Cleveland's better than the Knicks now after this trade?
It's going to be close. I think I trust the Knicks probably a little bit more. I think the Knicks probably mentally and physically tougher. But I like two things, the two moves that Cleveland made because they went out and got Keon Ellis, who's a defensive player, but he gives them a defensive edge. But they also went and got Dennis Schroeder. And Dennis Schroeder, you say what you want about him, and you saw the way he played for Detroit last year in the playoffs. Dennis Schroeder is tough, and he's not afraid of the moment. With the FIBA World Cup a couple of years ago, he led Germany to the gold medal. He was the MVP of the tournament. He's one of these guys that's actually getting a little bit better as he gets older. He'll obviously be coming off the bench for Cleveland, assuming he's not traded again. There's been reports that maybe he could still be on the move. But I like Cleveland more today than I did a couple of days ago. And I think the Eastern Conference now is really interesting, especially if Jason Tatum comes back. I think the road to getting to a finals for the Knicks just got a lot more difficult over the past 48, 72 hours.
Okay, so now the big question. I know the Knicks are in action right now. They're taking on the Nuggets about 5 minutes ago in the second quarter, whatever it may be there. The big story, though, is going to be what they do here at the deadline. Do they break this team up? Do they get Giannis? Do you think that Giannis is going to have any say? Like, I feel like, Frank, from doing the tea leaves, and and you could give us some insight to this, that he wants to be a Knick. I'm just trying to connect some of the dots. Do you think, A, Giannis wants to be a Knick, and then B, do you think that matters if Milwaukee does, in fact, decide to trade him ahead of the deadline?
Giannis wants a lot of things. He wants the split from Milwaukee to be such that the fans still love him. And the way that it works is some fans will always love him. And they'll say, listen, the guy gave us, what is it, 12 years in the league, 13 years. He came here as a skinny kid from Greece. He became a two-time MVP, took the team to the finals. They won a championship. Then there'll be other people who say, look what he did over the last few years, kind of ruined the team with him forcing all these moves and him forcing his way out. I do think there's probably the Milwaukee Bucks will go to Giannis and say, listen, we could trade you to this team, and this team because we know we like what we're getting back. If the Milwaukee Bucks don't like what they're getting back from a team, they're not going to just send him to the Knicks because that's where Giannis wants to go. And right now, Miami actually has a deal that they could make, and the Warriors do because it includes first-round picks. Now, what's going to happen after if they wait until after the summer, after the season, the Knicks may be in better position to make it happen. But Milwaukee doesn't want their players. They have to get a third team involved to get picks because everything that I've heard about Milwaukee, if they make this trade, it's going to be a total rebuild. So why are you looking to add, for argument's sake, Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges? What is that doing for you? They want to start over.
Right. So could there be then a third team? Like it's confusing because I feel like the Knicks would be willing to make a move moving on from Town. Like to me, it's almost
100%.
less about you. Okay, so it's almost less about Giannis. He just happens to be the star that's available, and more about they have finally identified where most of us identified a year ago. Tibbs wasn't the problem. Cat was the problem. So now they've identified that Karl Anthony Towns is the issue, maybe Bridges as well. And I feel like it's less about Giannis and more about maybe breaking up those two guys from this group.
Yeah, and I think, the one thing I'd say about both of them, I didn't think Bridges had a great season last year, but I thought in the playoffs he had some really good moments, especially against Boston. I thought defensively he was good. He made some big shots in the Detroit series as well. And then, you look at Towns, he was an all NBA player last year, and his numbers in the playoffs were actually really good. The problem with the playoffs last year was that game one against Indiana, and you lose a game like that, and everyone's to blame. In the last, what was it, 30 seconds of the game, OG Anunoby missing a free throw, Towns missing a free throw. Brunson should have kept the ball and gotten fouled, and he should have been going to the free throw line. And then obviously Halliburton hitting that lucky shot. Like, it's unfortunate, but I kind of feel like the Knicks have overreacted. I think in some ways the fans have overreacted a little bit. Maybe you're overreacting. I don't think that Karl Anthony Towns was that bad. I get it. He hasn't played well this season. I think, and this is from the outside looking, I know Karl a little bit, but I think he probably got wind that the Knicks were trying to move him to Milwaukee during the offseason. And he was thinking, now, hang on a second. I went to a conference finals in Minnesota. You trade for me, I take you guys to the conference final. I wanted to stay in Minnesota. More than happy to come to New York. My dad's here. I'm closer to where I grew up. And now you're going to ship me to Milwaukee. And notice the first time that the Knicks played Milwaukee, he had a terrible game. It was almost as if he was trying to kill any idea of a trade. Not that he would be directly going to Milwaukee, but I just think He was happy in Minnesota, thrilled to come to New York. Now that he hears he's going to be on the move, I think that's put him in a funk. I'm not necessarily sure he's gotten out of that.
Okay, do you think then, forget what I think or others, do you think that the Knicks can win a championship as currently constructed?
I do because of Mitchell Robinson. So if Mitchell Robinson can stay healthy, I mean, he's an elite offensive rebounder. He changes everything about them defensively. If you go back to last season, he only played 17 games because he was coming back from that injury the year before when he got hurt against Philadelphia in the playoffs. So he only played 17 games. And when he came back for those 17 games, he was on a minutes restriction, couldn't play back to back. So the Knicks' defensive numbers in those 17 games, I think they were top 3 in the league in the 17 games that Mitchell Robinson played. So he makes a huge impact on the game. I think they improved their bench. I know, you talk to people around the league, a lot of people question whether or not they can do it. But all you have to do if you're in the East, and it's not going to be easy getting through the East, but once you get through the East, you only have to beat one of the good teams in the West. It's not like you're Oklahoma City and you're thinking, wow, we might have to play,
Yeah.
Minnesota. We might have to play San Antonio. We might have to play Denver just to get to a finals. That's not the case in the East. And I think the Knicks showed you last year during the playoffs, especially with the way that they played against Boston, that they'll be a tough out.
Which is why I think that even if the Knicks don't make a big move here, worst case scenario is not a bad one. You take your chance and go try to run it in a wide
Yeah.
open Eastern Conference and go try to win a championship. And if you don't, then you could just go make a big trade and they'd be better off for it. You're better positioned for it in the offseason. Sal Licata Show podcast here live with Frank Isola. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. I think the Knicks have gotten worse. When I look at the weaknesses on this team, they're loaded. Arguably the most talented Knicks team. Maybe not even arguably. They might be the most talented Knicks team that I've ever seen in my lifetime. But I don't love the head coach. And I would feel better about this team, Frank, if Tibbs were still here. I know you're a Tibbs guy. I've been a Tibbs guy, 90 Knicks, all those different things. But you can't tell me that Mike Brown is better suited to run this team where Tibbs only had one chance to have this version of a team after building up. What do you
Yeah,
think about the change?
it's weird too because I think a lot of people say, well, he could only get them to so far. Well, number one, they were in the second round and then they advanced to the conference finals. Isn't so? Aren't they taking steps? And look at what the team was when he took over. I mean, Josh Hart had never been in the playoffs before before he came to the Knicks. Jalen Brunson was a terrific player for Dallas, but he was essentially a backup. He became an MVP candidate in New York. Look what happened with Julius Randle. So I think the Knicks got better. The weird thing is, so last year, one team in the Eastern Conference fired their coach after the season. One. And it was the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau. I still don't get it. And this idea about using the bench, if they thought the bench was so good, why did they go out and change most of the guys on the bench?
Right.
In
Yeah.
fact, the guys that he had to play are no longer in the league anymore.
Right.
And you
He
can't
had no bench, and the guys that they brought in, they don't even use them anyway with
no.
Yabusele and Jordan Clarkson
And
anymore.
you know what? And if you look too, Mike Brown, Mike Brown is smart. So he said all the right things that everyone wanted to hear. Oh, we're going to play faster pace. They're
Right.
not doing that. Well, we're going to have a deep rotation. They're not doing that. They're playing 7, 8, 9 men on most nights, just like what Tom did. And we're not going to chase wins. Go look at the minutes guys play in tight games. It's the same thing. So we'll see what happens come playoff time. I like Mike Brown. He's a good guy, but we know what's going to happen. Once the playoffs start, there's going to be a lot of pressure on that team because they made it to a conference finals, the first one in 25 years. They went to a game 6, lost in a series where Siakam outplayed Towns, Halliburton outplayed Jalen Brunson, but everybody focused on the coach because he got out coached by Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle is a great coach. They outscored him by an average of 1 point per game, Indiana. Like this idea that
Right.
Indiana dominated the series, and I think Rick Carlisle is terrific. His last 10 years in Dallas didn't win a playoff series, and I think they were in the lottery 6 times. And the year before, he got swept by the Boston Celtics. And you know what the Pacers didn't do? They didn't overreact and fire their coach. They kept their
Right.
coach, and the next year they went to a finals.
It reeks of James Dolan, and then he was on the fan, I know, not too long ago, and basically admitted, like, he just got impatient. They needed to. If you're telling me that you want to move on from Tibbs because you definitively feel like he can't be the guy to get you over the hump, you then better bring in somebody who's done it
Well,
before and gotten over. They tried to hire every coach in the league and they landed
well,
on Mike Brown. It makes no sense.
yeah, and I think I think the smart thing for them to do, and I think you see this with a lot of organizations. I'll give you an example. So Brad Stevens has a situation with Ime Udoka where there's something going on inside the organization. They have to get rid of him. They bring in Joe Mazzulla. The year before, in June, the previous June, they had gone to a finals. They lose in the finals, and everybody's starting up. They can't win with Brown and Tatum. They have to break them up. Brad Stevens doesn't overreact. He hires Joe Mazzulla as the coach. They end up losing to Miami in the conference finals. Joe Mazzulla's, you know, never been to a finals. People calling for Joe Mazzulla's head. He doesn't get rid of Joe Mazzulla. And then look what happens. They go and win a championship. So, like, there's something to be said about kind of ignoring the noise. And I think the mistake that the Knicks made was they lost on a Saturday night. And by Tuesday morning, the coach was gone. Like, why not give it like a week? Let everything settle down a little bit. And then, you know, then talk it out. And if you think you want to make a change, go right ahead. But you just nailed it. They made a change without knowing who they were going to hire. They wanted to hire Jason Kidd, couldn't get permission to speak to him. And then they just basically started cold calling every team in the NBA asking, can we talk to your coach? That's not how you do a coaching search.
It makes me feel though. Remember, there was some reports. I think it was even Zerbiak who might have said it ahead of the Pistons series. If the Knicks lose this series or don't smoke the Pistons, then maybe there's going to be a coaching change. So it makes me feel like predetermined going into the postseason. They were looking for a reason to get rid of Tom
Well,
Thibodeau.
and you said it. So they beat Detroit, which was that was a fun series. I mean, both
Yeah.
teams were really good. That series was entertaining. And then if you remember going up against Boston, who they hadn't beaten in the regular season, the talk was, well, they better at least be competitive. Well, that's kind of what determines what's competitive? What if they went to a seventh game and got blown out in the second half? Could you then say they weren't even competitive against Boston? So even that was telling me that he was going to be in trouble. And then when they won that series, which is one of the biggest upsets in the NBA, if not the biggest upset in the last 25 years, it was still he's not out of the woods yet. So you're 100% right. I think they were always looking for a reason to get rid of him. And that's fine, but they are kind of doing a lot of the same things that they did under him, running the same offense now, using the same defensive principles, and we'll see how it works out for Mike Brown. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, and that's why I just have a hard time where they had the predetermined stuff, and then after he beat the Celtics, I thought, and I think many in this town were like, "All right, well, Tibbs earned the right to be back at least one more year. Give him a chance." The team wasn't even healthy all year long. They just made a major trade for a superstar in Karl Anthony Towns. What'd you think was going to happen? Right away, they were going to hit the ground running. So
Well,
you needed at least a year. I wanted to see one more year.
and the whole setup was originally going to be someone was going to get hurt in the playoffs, and then they were going to use he ran the players into the ground. That
Right.
didn't happen, so he had to move the goalpost. It was the Cleveland Cavaliers who all they did was manage everyone's minutes through the playoffs, and their entire team got hurt during the playoffs. Jason Tatum blew out his Achilles. Tyrese Halliburton blew out his Achilles. The Knicks were healthy in the playoffs last year, so that was always going to be the theme. And once they couldn't support that with any real evidence, they now moved on to something else. And if you look at the way they're playing, the numbers for Towns are down. Bridges' numbers are down. Wasn't Jalen Brunson the clutch player of the year last year? I think this year he's ranked, I think about a week ago, he was ranked 41st in terms of clutch points. So he went
Well,
from being the clutch player of the year to now he's in the top 50.
think of it this way. We just simplify it. Who's a better coach, Mike Brown or Tom Thibodeau?
I think Mike's been to a finals. He got a chance to coach LeBron, but I think the work that Tom's done taking over losing team, well, not a losing team, a mediocre team in Chicago became they won 64 games there. And then Minnesota, which never made the playoffs, they made the playoffs. And look what he did with the Knicks. So I would give the edge to Tom. I know a lot of people are going to roll their eyes, but that's the way I feel.
Yeah, I don't even think it's close. I would go with Tibbs. What happened with Brown in Sacramento? Can you share some insight on that? Why as that went the way that it did?
Yeah, that's a weird one there because Vivek Radadive, the owner, there was a story many years ago with Michael Malone, where he allegedly told him, "Why don't we play 5-on-4 on defense, and we'll just have a guy cherry picking at the other end?" Because he had done that with his daughter's fifth grade basketball team. Like, there's a lot of crazy things that they kind of throw out there, but maybe something was going on with him and De'Aaron Fox. I think they made a big mistake trading De'Aaron Fox, but Mike did a pretty decent job there. Where,
Right.
remember there was a falling out too with Kobe in LA, and they got rid of Mike in the second year really early in that season. I actually think he did a pretty decent job in Sacramento. But like to me, you can never really judge any coach in Sacramento because I just think the ownership situation is always a little hostile or hectic, to say the least.
Well, I mean, some could say the same thing about the Garden. Do you think
Yeah.
Leon Rose made the decision and ultimately was like, you know what, I think our team will be better off, or we need somebody else to try to get this team over the hump?
Um, so years ago, there was talk of Klay Thompson getting traded to Minnesota for Kevin Love. And Bob Myers was the general manager of the team at the time. And he told Joe Lacob, the owner, he says, if you make that trade, I'm going to resign. Do I think Leon Rose did that in the case of getting rid of Tom Thibodeau? No. So there's your answer.
Right. I mean, it was
He wasn't
basically
going to. He wasn't going to stand in. It's kind of like the Friends and Families program over there. Like they got everywhere, all their friends, family member, everybody's walking around the garden. Everybody's getting paid. I think Leon was like, I'm messing up a good thing here. Tom's my guy. We just got him a $40 million extension. Sorry, guy. Sorry, dude. We got. I'm not fighting on this one.
And because I'm sure he's also fought before that. I mean, there was thought, I forget which year it was exactly, but the Knicks were struggling early on in the year, and then there were the rumors about, oh, maybe this will be the year they get rid of Tibbs, and then they didn't. They stuck with him, were patient for a change, and ended up
Yeah.
winning and having success. So
Yeah.
I'm sure
And
Leon Rose.
that's it's funny too. I didn't mean to cut
No.
you off, but I always felt like the years that I covered the Knicks, I always felt that the organization and Jim Dolan always struggled with success. Like whenever they had a modicum of success, it was like they did something to kind of derail it. And now you're in your first conference finals, and this is the thing that I couldn't understand. Like, Frank, you hate the Knicks, all this like nonsense. I thought they had a great year last year. They made the conference finals for the first time in 25 years. It was all the Knicks fans that were upset. They were more upset over last year than they were like when they kept winning like 25 games, 32 games. Then like everything was, oh, God forbid you could criticize the team. They had a really good year. They were a little unlucky. And remember too about Indiana, and nobody will, the Knicks fan refuses to give Indiana credit because I don't think they like Halliburton because he reminds him of Reggie Miller.
Right.
Indiana played Milwaukee in the first round. They absolutely smoked them. Smoked them. And that's with Giannis. Then in the second round, they beat the team with the best record in the Eastern Conference. They smoked them. Then they beat the Knicks in 6 games. They went to the finals. It was a game 7. They were winning at halftime on the road, and Halliburton had blown out his Achilles, only played 7 minutes of game 7. So can we at least acknowledge that Indiana was pretty good? 100%. You want to be disappointed with the way the Knicks season ended. You're disappointed. You thought maybe they could have beat them, but at least give Indiana credit. It's a much better team than people were giving them credit for last year.
I know, but I hate the Pacers forever. Actually,
There you
Bada
go.
Booms. Yeah, it's true. Bada Booms brought this point up the other day, and I'd be curious to get your take. And I think he might be right. Halliburton has actually done more damage to the Knicks at the Garden than Reggie Miller has. 2 years this guy's been killing him. Reggie Miller's been billed as the Knicks villain and owns the Garden. I saw your tweet. We were talking about that. Halliburton's owned the Knicks more than Reggie.
I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of former Knicks coaches that get a little tired of hearing about that. That Reggie, I'm not. You could fill in the blanks on it, and they like Reggie, and I like Reggie too. And I get what NBC's trying to do, but
it's every time.
He
Frank,
was 6-12 at the Garden. He had unbelievable moments. This is what made Reggie Miller stand out. He turned into the villain. He embraced it. He liked the fans abusing him. He liked giving it back to them. So that's why he stands out. I was there for those playoff games. I was there for when Michael Jordan came in. That was the dude that they couldn't beat. It was Michael Jordan. Reggie, I still remember 99 when the Knicks didn't have Ewing. He was hurt. Larry got hurt in game 6. He had a knee injury, had to leave. And it was Allen Houston against Reggie Miller, and Allen Houston destroyed him. And up to that point, that was probably the third or fourth biggest game that Reggie Miller's ever played in. And Allen Houston took him to the woodshed. So Reggie's an unbelievable player. I like the fact that he embraced the villain role, but this idea that like he owns Madison Square Garden, the stats don't support it. Our boy Michael Jordan, born in Brooklyn, the great. I love Michael Jordan, so I'm going to be a little bit biased there. I think he's the greatest player of all time. That dude, or as the players used to call him, that black cat. That black cat was the one that the Knicks could not beat. That was a different level player.
And even if Reggie was great in certain moments, we don't need to see it every year. Like everybody, first of all, it's 30 something years ago. Second of all, it's every time he's on the
I,
call for a game in the Garden, it's the same story. We get it. We've seen
I
it. We lived it.
It's funny you bring that up, right? All right, so let's say they're showing highlights from '95,
Yeah.
which is 31 years ago, right? Am I right? Am
Right.
I right about that? So that's 31 years ago. Imagine in 1995 they were showing you highlights from a guy that played the Knicks 31 years old earlier in 1964, and you were 20 years old. You'd be sitting around saying, "How is this relevant? I don't even.
Right.
What do I care about 1964? What does that have to do? Look how slow everyone was moving back then. I don't care about that. But it's interesting that 31 years later, we're still talking about the couple of good games that Reggie had, where the Knicks kind of fell apart, like they did in Game One last year against Indiana.
Sticking in the 90s because it is, and I know we appreciate your time, Frank Isola joining us here. Check him out, Sirius XM, Yes Network, ESPN, all over the place. We appreciate a few minutes here. But the 90s Knicks are my favorite team. Like, I'm a Knicks fan, but I'm really a 90s Knicks fan. Give me your favorite player to cover during those years where you were with them all the
Yeah,
time during the height of their success.
I admired Ewing a lot. He could be tough to deal with from the standpoint he didn't talk every day, which in some ways I thought was good because anytime he did talk, it was a big deal. And of course, Charles Oakley is my guy. But the guy that I hit it off with the best was Larry Johnson. And Larry was interesting because Larry bridged every guy on the team. Ewing was an older player, and Larry could relate to him being a former number one overall pick himself, having won a national championship in college, having been an all-star, but also with the younger guys, they all looked up to Larry. Like I thought, like he really ran the locker room. He was like the voice of the team. He was the muscle of the team. I respect the way that when he came into the league, he played above the rim. Remember the famous commercials, the grandmama
Yeah.
commercials, where he's dunking dressed as a grandma. And when he had the back stuff, he reinvented his game to play below the rim and, basically beat people with quickness and getting the right angle and body positioning. So he was just a great guy to deal with. And if Larry was always good to me, I'd go in the locker room before every game and I'd sit in front of his line and we would talk about everything. But when the players saw you talking to Larry, it gave you credibility with the other players. They knew like if you were cool with Larry, you were cool, that you would be okay to deal with. Not that mean all the players love me, but I'm just, that gave you a little sense of, you almost got like the blessing from the Pope. I still remember the day when Larry, his back started bothering him. And it looked like it was going to be the end, and he was missing for a game. I think he must have gone somewhere to see a specialist. And before the game, I was sitting at his locker stall, just sitting there, just looking around the locker room. And Alan Houston walked over to me, goes, "You look so sad without your guy here." I said, "You know what? It didn't even dawn on me that I'm like sitting at his locker." I stood up and said, "Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have been doing that." But it was something I really enjoyed covering, and he was great too. I mean, he had great stories having played at UNLV. When he was on Vegas, Suge Knight was on the football team. So he would always
Wow.
tell like really cool stories about hanging out like that. I always thought the UNLV basketball team, like that was like the coolest team because as a team in Vegas, they're winning all these games, they're hanging out in casinos. It's like that's when like college basketball, everyone else was kind of buttoned up like Duke. And here you had like this, UNLV team. And what you didn't realize about them was that they were well coached by Tarkanian. And those guys were dedicated, committed players, whether it's Greg Anthony, who I've gotten to know really well, Stacey Augman, obviously Anderson Hunt, but my guy, Larry Johnson.
All right, give me a favorite series. I mean, dude, you were there for the peak Jordan, Knicks Bulls, Knicks
Yeah.
Pacers, Knicks Heat, all of that stuff. Dude. Is there a series or maybe a game in particular that sticks out for you that you covered?
I think the series that stick out the most because I'm one of those. I always try to be realistic, and the Knicks. Jeff Van Gundy wanted to beat Michael Jordan the worst way and Phil Jackson, as did Patrick Ewing and everyone on the team. But I just deep down, I never thought they were going to beat him 4 times in the series. I just always had faith that Michael Jordan was going to win. So it was kind of like to me, if they could somehow knock him off, it would be incredible. But I sat courtside for all. So what would it have been? 24 playoff games, Knicks in Miami when they played for 4 straight years. So all of those, and I think the 99, the 98 and the 99 one stick out because in 97, they should have won. They're up 3-1. I mean, we're all writing stories that it's going to be the Knicks and the Bulls in the conference finals. In fact, when they went on the road for game 5, we all packed thinking we were going to go right to Chicago. That's like even like in the media, we were kind of arrogant about the whole thing, and then everyone knows the rest is history.
Yeah.
Guys coming off the bench and suspended. So then the following year, '98, they had a chance to, they lose. I'm sorry, at the game four, so it was a 5-game series. That's when Larry and Alonzo Mourning got in the fight, and Jeff Van Gundy that's holding onto Alonzo's leg. And as they're walking up the court, you could see the look on Pat Riley's face. He's standing right in front of us. He was ashen, and you could tell that he knew that the Mourning was going to be suspended. So the Knicks go down there. No Patrick Ewing because he had been hurt that season. Oakley started at center most of the year. He had a dunk in the game, which we gave him a hard time about afterwards. And then in '99, when Allen Houston hit the shot, because it looked like Jeff Van Gundy was going to get fired if the Knicks lost in the first round. So that's obviously a new team now, Camby and especially Spreewell. And when Allen Houston hit the shot, and to be there, and there is something to be said when you go to an arena, and you've been at a million games, when you hear the roar of the crowd. Like I was in Toronto when Joe Carter hit the home run. It's like that
Wow.
noise. It's something that you never forget. But there's also something about when a guy on the road hits a big shot, and there's a lot of silence. There's random Knick fans in other places in the arena making noise. It's almost like this eerie kind of sound. And I still remember that, how amazing that was, that Allen Houston, it was like front iron, backboard, and in the shot that he made. I still remember being on the court after the game, and Chris Rock was there, like kind of celebrating with the Knicks. So that game, that series sticks out a lot because what was at stake. I think Jeff was going to get fired if they didn't make it out of the series. And Jeff is the son of a coach, and the guy that hit the winning basket was Allen Houston, who was the son of a coach. So it seemed to fit in perfectly.
God, I could talk and listen to 90s Knicks stories all day long. Let's wrap it where we began. Giannis, what do you think happens with him ultimately here ahead of the deadline?
I've been thinking, now listen, something could happen within the next 28 36 hours. I still think they wait till the offseason because remember, they could always offer him 275. So that's a lot of money to turn down. And you know how it works now, Sal, with the players. Their thinking is, let me get the money first. I'll worry about the team later.
Then
Let me
force your
sign the
way out
contract.
after.
Because exactly, they could pay him the most money. So I still think that's in play. And I think the fact that they could get more in the offseason, I don't know. You want Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, and 2 future first round picks from Golden State. I don't know. Like Miami could offer a pretty compelling package as well. I think if it happens before Thursday, by Thursday, I think it'll be one of those teams, but I still think it's going to be the offseason.
Frank, you're the man. I miss you. It's great catching up. We got to get to dinner soon. I know we've
Yep.
been talking about that, but we appreciate you taking the time here talking some hoops with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's amazing. You know so much about sports, obviously baseball, basketball, the Jets and the Giants. You're a hockey guy too. And where do I run into Sal? At a Red Bull game. How about that? Expanding his horizons. We had fun that night.
You're like Mr. Red Bull, and that was fun. We got to do that again. I love going there. It's right
How
down
good, by the way, how great is the stadium?
It's tremendous. I love it.
Yep.
It's 30 minutes to get to, and then once you get in there, it's a great venue. And I was there. You weren't there for this, but we talked about it because I saw you at a different game. I know you go all the time, but I was there for the Messi game this year when he came in and scored
my
2
daughter
goals.
went to that. It was good, right?
I will say, and I'm not a soccer guy, but like I like it for the Red Bulls. It's cool going there. Watching Messi in person and feeling the energy and the hype, and then having him deliver was maybe one of the great sports things that I've witnessed in person. It was that good, even for a non-soccer fan.
Yeah. And for people who don't like soccer, I'll agree with you. There's a lot of games that are boring, just like there's a lot of boring games in every sport. Here's the difference, though. Boring soccer game is still only 2 hours. You're in and out of there. It's not like a 4-hour NFL game. You guys watch the Jets and Giants this year. You want that is the epitome of boring.
That's exactly right. And that's been going on for years. All right, Frank, we appreciate it. Thank you, man.
All right, Sal. Good seeing you. Take care.
Yep, you too. And remember, check out Frank's book. My first book, one of the first books I ever read, Just Ballin'. It's a oldie but a goodie. All right, I'll hang on a little bit. Bada booms, you could remove Frank and take care of all that stuff. And I do want to get into the Rangers news that happened with Panarin. Just give some thoughts on that. Maybe we get some chat thoughts in here before we wrap things up. So the reason why I think the Panarin trade for the Rangers is an abject failure, it's not because they didn't have to move him, because they did. So we all know that. As an organization, you should never be put in a spot where you are forced to trade your big stars. If you are, that means you have failed. And the Rangers failed. Panarin provided so many great memories, so many great moments through those years with the Rangers making the postseason and going on those runs, obviously never deep enough, always falling short. And now you realize, okay, well, it's not over. They're going to have to rebuild and figure it out. So you understand that they got to move on from him. But you don't want to be in that position. You'd still like to build around him and take another run at it. And they just failed to do that. They couldn't do it. And a big part of why they couldn't do it is because Drury, in the first place, locked himself into contracts that he couldn't get out of, specifically with Panarin and Zibanejad. After you realize, hey, you know what? This team's just never going to get it done in the postseason. And Drury tried to build around it and bring in certain guys and get tougher and get, more of those grinders in the postseason, the battles along the boards and all those different things, as opposed to being just a highly skilled team. It didn't work. Whatever moves he made were never enough to get them over the hump. And then he couldn't get out of it the right way because Zibanejad didn't want to go anywhere and he didn't have to because of the contract. Same thing with Panarin. So even though they get the Kings' top prospect, it's not enough. A third-round pick? Like, you need more than that to give up the bread man. So you're in a spot, again, I know they had to do it. You're in a spot as an organization where you have failed, and Drury screwed up by having those guys have so much pull. Panarin could dictate where he wanted to go, and obviously the Kings was it, and then they come to the agreement on the extension, and that's why the Rangers had to move him there. They couldn't hold out and say, no, we need a first-rounder as well. They couldn't do it. So you're losing value because you made mistakes before that. I'm not going to go nuts on the whole thing, but I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that. And look, the Rangers have been bad. We know that this year, and I'm okay with trying to rebuild. I'm not okay, though, with putting themselves in that spot to begin with. Green Tree, a former first-round pick, but are the Rangers going to even develop him? There's a team, again, that, Kakko, Lafreniere, these guys aren't what they were supposed to be. Kakko goes elsewhere. He's performing when he was here. Couldn't make the most of him. Lafreniere, same thing. Like, not good enough, ultimately. Didn't live up to the hype. So the Rangers have had issues with developing some of the young guys. And they've had an issue with not being able to take control or take advantage of building around an elite goaltender. So overall, I understand the direction and accept the direction that the Panarin, Zibanejad, whatever, that group is not going to get it done. We've known that for a couple of years. As a matter of fact, BT and I were talking about that maybe last year, whatever, maybe even 2 years ago. They needed to change it. Okay, we understand that direction. It still doesn't mean that you have to it doesn't mean that you have to like that they had put themselves in that direction and what the return is because of the predicament they put themselves in with the limitations of the contract. When you start giving these guys no move clauses, you're screwing yourself. And ultimately, that's what happened. So a rebuild is one thing. A rebuild with limitations because of the contracts that Drury wrongfully handed out to keep Zibanejad and Panarin here. You can't do that. I don't care how good they are, how much you believe in them. You can't have a no-move clause because it puts you in a spot like this. And now who knows when they're going to be good again. And maybe by the time they're good again, they miss out on the Shesterkin window. Always a sad day when you're in a spot as an organization where you have to give up the star player and get prospects and picks in return. Rebuilds are okay, but it doesn't mean we have to like it. All right, time now for Six with Sal, the second ever edition of Six with Sal. If you're not familiar with it, it's Bada Boom's idea as we bring him into the chat here, where, I mean, it's not your idea. Like, you didn't originate the idea of doing some sort of list. Like, it's a spinoff of what we used to do with BT, the Power Up. There's a different way to do it, but you had the genius idea to do it draft style, snake draft style. We decided on Six with Sal, alliteration. It works. We did it last week with the wrestlers' themes, top 3 wrestling theme songs, entrance songs of all time. Today, we're going to do it with the Super Bowl, top 3 Super Bowl foods. So basically, Bada Boom, it's like, I'm having a party, you're having a party, we're drafting the foods. Which party is going to be the best party? Party, okay?
Oof. Was that intentional?
Can you? No, that was. I don't know why I said that. Which party is going to be the best party?
Can I read the results from the first one just to get a little bit more engagement on there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the first, can't see the exact number, and I'm not great at math. But the first Six with Sal, Bada Booms finished in second place with 34% of the votes, while Sal Licata had 66% of the votes. Execute Order 66 was done by Sal Licata.
Dominant. dominant performance. I mean, Hogan, Cena, Mr. Perfect. You had CM Punk, Dusty Rhodes, and Randy Orton. Dominant performance from me. Maybe we revisit that one and do a part 2, eliminating those first 6. Anyway, all right. So who gets the first pick now? Do I get it because I won?
I'm always was big on the blacktop, the court ball. Winner gets ball. So you
Right.
scored on me. You ran my. You know
Okay.
what?
Now, just to specify here, it could be any kind of food. Like, does it have to be like it could be
No,
all
it doesn't
three?
have to be centric. It doesn't have to be centric
All,
to Super Bowl.
I'm saying like all 3 snacks. Could it be all 3 main courses?
No bevies. I would say no bevies.
No bevies, but
I got him to say bevies.
yeah, no bevies. Meat, but it could be like I could go with all 3 snacks if I wanted to.
Yeah, you can go all 3 snacks, but do you think that's going to be a draw?
I don't know. I have to think about this. First pick of the 6 with Sal Super Bowl food draft. I select buffalo wings.
Okay.
Now that means you can't have them.
Correct.
No wings for you at your party.
No swings.
I'm going wings. Buffalo wings.
Okay.
Now I like boneless myself, but it doesn't have to be just boneless.
Oh,
It's just,
Sal.
I know. But
No, that's the first thing I think that we really have hit it off on.
Oh, you're boneless too?
Depending on the kind of wings. Like when I go to B-dubs, I want boneless.
Okay. Yeah.
If the
I'm a
flavor's
boneless.
good, I want boneless. I want to taste the flavor.
Used to go to Applebee's boneless. Although I will say, especially at 22, yeah, when I was your age, I was going to Applebee's all the time. Boneless wings, fries,
I've seen the
honey
pictures.
mustard. Yeah. But now I will say that I do like a dry rub bone with you know what
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
on,
I
get
can't.
your head out of
I
the
didn't make a
gutter.
joke out of it. I didn't make a joke.
the
out of it.
dry
Now it's
rub
back to that.
bone in wing. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you don't have any buffalo wings at your party. Now you get the snake 2-3 for Bada Booms. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I feel like you're gonna bitch about this, and I can blurt that out if you want me to. But this was always gonna be my first pick. I'm taking the buff chick dip. Are you gonna bitch about that?
No, that's a
Okay.
pick. That's a selection.
All right,
yeah.
good. So I love a good buff chick dip. To be honest with you, Sal.
Okay, let me just. So does that mean that
you
like,
can still pick dips. You can
okay.
dips are alive.
Okay, but this is specific to the buffalo dip.
Or you know what? You said I can't take wings, so that we take dips off the board. That's
Right.
what
So
you
then
think.
you're taking.
I think I take the dip.
I know.
The dill.
Yeah, I think so
All right.
too.
I'll take it. This
So
second
chips
one.
and dip is off the
Yeah.
board.
Now I'm gonna specify because people are gonna see chips and dip and think like, what? I got some ungazo. What's that? You know the little little salsa jar, and a little queso. I can't think of the brand, and I'm not giving them a free shout out.
No,
anyway.
but it doesn't matter. You selected dip.
Correct.
So it could be whatever kind of dip. Just like I could pick boneless wings, I could pick dry rub. It doesn't matter. Wings are mine at my
Correct.
party. I have no dip. You have dip. You're gonna go with your buffalo dip, whatever it may be, and that hurts me because I like the French onion dip with Frito scoops. Like that will literally be at my.
Don't say the name.
Well, whatever. I mean, I like scoops with dip. Okay, but I can't do that. You have dip. Go ahead.
Yes, and I was just saying that again to preface to the people when you see this on the chart, and if you're just scrolling and not listening,
I know.
I'm talking about a good dip. I'm not talking about the jar. We're gonna make it up. We're gonna do it up for you. Maybe avocado, maybe artichoke. Buff chick was in mine, but all dip. I'll take all dip.
Right.
Maybe a little skull wintergreen extra long cut if you like that.
It's a great pick.
Second pick, I'm gonna have to explain this to people, and I will throw up a picture. I'm gonna go for the people like me and you, Sal. We know what this is. The stromboli. All right. If you don't know what the stromboli is, another word for it would be pinwheel. So it's like those little
Yeah, my
little
sister
jaws
makes
like
them.
that.
My sister makes them on Christmas.
And phenomenal. All right. You can put anything you want in there. Any kind of meats, any kind of cheeses.
You make them or no?
Does it look like I make them? No, I consume them.
Yeah. Okay. So you buy them at the store. Mom makes them. What are we looking at?
No, I go to the spot. I'm not old enough to be hosting the spot.
All right. So I'm on the clock.
Yes.
You only have one more pick left.
Correct.
So you have stromboli bread and you have chips and dip. Oh wait, not chips, but dip.
No. Yeah. Yes. We'll put the
all right.
chips and a dip together.
Well, I can't have any chips at my party.
You gonna use chips on one of your picks?
No, I don't know. I mean, I like them. All right. With the fourth pick of the 6 with Sal draft of the Super Bowl foods, I'm going pigs in a blanket.
Okay.
Huge pigs in a blanket guy. I don't have them during the course of the year. At the Super Bowl party, always have them. My wife does it up nice. She does the fresh dough, the Pillsbury thing, and puts the little hot dogs in there. I'm going pigs in a blanket.
You get a sauce with that on the side? Or a
You know,
little-
I usually use ketchup or mustard.
Okay. All right. No cheese?
You could if you like wheat.
Okay.
I don't. I go usually ketchup, mustard, whatever, a little bit of both.
Okay.
Pigs in a blanket. I'm torn here because now I'm going to take the.
I'll tell you this. You're not taking
Yeah.
what I'm taking. Leave it at that.
I mean, this is an impossible pick here to only have 3 things. I am going to go. I mean, it's just what I would do at my party. So you either want to come to my party or you don't. I'm a hero guy. Super Bowl, it's hero time. So I am going. I'm usually it's like 3-foot American, 3-foot Italian, whatever it is. Hero off the board. What are you making the face for? Did I do something again? What?
Well, I want to see how you respond to mine, but keep going, please. The hero.
Hero. You know, from the deli, whatever. You could have it on a bagel. You could have it whatever shape you want. Usually 3-foot American, 3-foot Italian. You want to go chicken cutlet hero? I'm fine with that too.
They have those?
Hero. Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah, you can.
No,
get
like I'm talking about like the comically large one.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
3-foot, 6-foot. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Depending on
Really?
how many people you have. Yeah. So that's what I'm going. Matter of fact, here's a little fun fact for you. Even in these 6-foot Sal, when I first was hired by the Fan, when I was like behind the scenes doing tape op, whatever. Some of the shifts that I would work Super Bowl Sunday, like that night, it'd be like a low totem pole shift to work there late at night. Before that, I used to have the parties at my house, at my parents' house. So I used to take the party to the Fan, and I would cater. There was at least like a 2-3 year spurt there where I would bring the hero in to the old Fan studios in Astoria. So I'm done with my party. Wings, pigs in a blanket, hero.
I can only imagine teleporting that. Did you drive it? I assume.
I used to have to drive in from Long Island to Astoria, pick it up in Astoria, and then bring it in there. Yeah,
It's got to be like teleporting the king's crown.
Yeah,
like that thing.
they have it in like a nice box. It was fun.
I would be
All right,
scared.
what do you got?
I got it. So I think you're gonna fight me on this. I'll show you that it's written down here because you said hero, and this was the one I was scared it was gonna be some.
Yeah.
So for my third and final pick, Sal, written down, I have gabagool.
That's just the meat.
Gabagool, you know.
Yeah. That's a meat.
Can I take that?
You could. I don't
You're
know
not
who's
gonna-
going to want to come to your party with stromboli and gabagool and chips and dip.
I'm coming.
You
I-
what?
No,
Okay.
no. I thought you said all right, but gabagool. And look, if you don't believe me, it's right there. Gabagool.
All right,
So we're
but
taking gabagool with the
how does
third
the
pick.
gabagool get served?
So I don't know if you've ever been to a deli, Sal, but they give you
Yeah.
the little. It's in the
Yeah.
bag. You got to take it out of the bag. Like I got a little bag right here, just like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You take it out of the bag, and like real ball knowers and real men, they see that and they're like, "Hell yeah!" Like they're like, "Yes, like, this is
Hell yeah.
exactly." Thank
You
you.
put the Dre accent on there. Hell yeah.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah, I know.
Like if I see the gabagool, but I'm talking about an absurd amount of gabagool, Sal. Like not like a Super Bowl amount of gabagool.
Are you Italian?
Oh, fuck you.
All right, so in summation here, buffalo wings for me. Buffalo wings, pigs in a blanket, hero. I will allow you to have cold cuts, in this case gabagool, because that's separate from hero. You just have the gabagool however you serve it.
Yeah,
Me,
actually, I just
buffalo
want just the
wings-
gabagool. That's all I want. You could
Right. Buffalo wings, pigs in a blanket, heroes. You have dip, chips, stromboli, and gabagool. I can't wait to put the poll up and see whose party is going to be more favorable.
emphasize the poll again. Just tell them where they can find it in the community section of the channel.
I have no idea where they can find it. You put it up
Please
and I
vote on
retweet it.
Yeah, so it's in the community section of the channel. If you just go in the channel somewhere and vote on it, maybe leave a comment too about how much you love gabagool, how
Yeah.
great Bada Boom's list is, how bold Sal is.
Yeah.
But I'll
How
see
tubby
myself
you
out now.
are.
What the
You what? You said bold. You're gonna take cheap shots. I'm gonna fire back.
Dude, you berate me on air. You say my art's bad, and now Tubby?
Yeah, you said how bold.
Oh,
and
bro, I
said how
can't. I
tubby
can't
you
wait
are.
for PSL. I'm gonna harass you. Not like that, but you know what I'm saying.
I mean, you're talking gabagool over here. No, all right. So you're gonna put that poll up.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you really think you're have a chance of winning this?
I think I got a shot. Yeah,
Really?
I think any man with two hands has a fighting chance, and in that case, I would.
All right. Well, we'll see. Second ever 6 with Sal. That was fun. Thanks, Bada Booms. All right, that does it for this week's, or not this week's, today's episode of the Sal Licata Show podcast. Make sure you download, rate, subscribe, check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Bye.